listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is something no one has ever said to you this directly. There are moments in life when a man crosses an invisible line, an internal shift where he stops being overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed, and suddenly becomes the one everyone quietly pays attention to. And the shocking part is, most older men don't even realize when it's happening. They walk through the world thinking they're fading, when in reality, they're stepping into the most powerful, attractive, and influential version of themselves. If you're an older guy watching this right now, you have no idea how close you are to becoming the man younger men envy and younger women are drawn to without understanding why. Not because you're trying to be impressive, but because life has carved something into you that no level of youth can replace. This video is going to expose the truth you were never taught. The signs that you're becoming the kind of man who doesn't chase, doesn't pretend, and doesn't perform for attention, yet still captures it effortlessly. I'm going to show you the traits you developed through years of experiences, heartbreak, growth, and quiet transformation. Traits that make you more magnetic now than ever before. And once you hear these signs, you'll never look at yourself the same way again. Because the world has lied to you about what makes a man attractive. It's not age, not looks, not luck. It's evolution. And you've been evolving without even realizing it. So if you're ready to see the version of yourself the world sees, if you're ready to understand why you carry an energy that people feel instantly, why your presence shifts a room, why your silence hits harder than other men's words, then stay with me until the very end. What you're about to hear might just change the way you walk through life from this moment forward. When you reach a certain stage in life as a man, something shifts inside you. It's subtle, but it's undeniable. You stop feeling the need to fill every silence with words, because you finally understand that your value isn't measured by how loudly you speak. It's measured by the weight behind your presence. And that presence didn't come from luck or genetics. It came from years of lessons, disappointments, victories, and internal corrections that shaped you into a man who doesn't need to compete with noise. You've lived enough life to know that silence is not empty, it is influence in its purest form. Younger men often equate masculinity with performance. They talk more, exaggerate more, and try harder because they're still trying to prove who they are. But when an older man enters a room and he's grown into himself, there is a different kind of energy there. An energy that doesn't demand attention but naturally pulls it. People feel it before they understand it. It's not arrogance, and it's not shyness. It's a form of self-possession that comes from knowing exactly who you are and no longer needing the world's approval to validate it. Your silence carries power because it's backed by experience. You've had conversations that taught you what matters and what doesn't. You've learned how pointless it is to argue with someone who only listens with their ego. You've realized that wisdom isn't in speaking first, it's in observing before responding. And when you do speak, your words hit differently. They're not impulsive. They come from a place of clarity, and clarity always commands respect. This quiet presence also reveals something else: emotional maturity. You don't panic when others panic. You don't rush to react when someone tries to provoke you. You've built a calm inside yourself that can't be shaken easily, and that calm is rare. It makes people lean in. It makes women feel something they can't explain but can't ignore. It makes men wonder how you maintain such control. And the truth is, it's not control, it's understanding. You've understood life deeper than most people ever will. What you must recognize now is that your silence isn't a weakness or a gap to fill. It's a form of communication that only a certain kind of man is capable of. It's the quiet confidence of someone who has already fought the battles young men are still preparing for. So remember this: When you stop talking to be heard and start speaking only when it matters, you walk through the world with a power that cannot be taught, copied, or faked. And the moment you embrace that fully, you become the kind of man whose presence speaks long before his voice ever does. There comes a point in a man's life when he stops trying to be understood by everyone because he finally understands himself. And that shift is one of the clearest signs of an attractive older man. You no longer justify your choices, your standards, or your values because you've lived long enough to know that the right people don't need explanations and the wrong people won't accept them anyway. This level of inner solidity doesn't come from ego, it comes from evolution. It's the product of years spent giving too much, explaining too much, and accommodating too much, until one day you simply stopped, not out of anger, but out of clarity. What younger men don't realize is that over-explaining yourself is a form of insecurity. It means you're still trying to convince the world of your worth. But when you get older, you realize that worth is not something you convince people of, it's something you embody. And the moment you stop seeking approval, something incredible happens. The world begins to respect you more. People respond differently when they sense you're not dependent on their validation. They listen more carefully, they approach you more cautiously, and they treat you with a level of seriousness that can't be earned through words alone. You stop justifying yourself because you trust your own decisions. You trust your judgment. You trust the lessons life has already given you. You've made mistakes that taught you boundaries, and you've survived experiences that forced you to develop a backbone. That self-trust radiates. It shows in the way you carry yourself, in how you speak, and in what you no longer tolerate. Women feel it instantly. There is something deeply attractive about a man who doesn't beg to be understood, who doesn't chase validation, who stands firm in who he has become. This doesn't mean you're rigid or closed off. It means you choose your energy wisely. You protect your peace because you finally understand how valuable it is. You don't argue to win. You walk away to preserve your dignity. You don't explain yourself to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. You've learned that silence saves you more than defending yourself ever could. And here's what makes this truly powerful. The less you explain, the more people want to understand you. The less you justify, the more your decisions carry weight. The more you honor your own standards, the more others rise to meet them. That is the quiet, magnetic authority of a man who knows who he is. So keep this truth with you. When you stop needing to prove yourself, you start becoming the man others can't ignore. One of the most underestimated signs of an attractive older man is the emotional calm he carries. It's not something you learn from a book or develop overnight. It's the byproduct of every storm you've survived, every challenge that forced you to grow up faster than you expected, and every moment you had to choose discipline over impulse. Younger men often react instantly because they still live in a world where emotion leads and logic follows. But when you reach a certain age, after enough lessons, you begin to understand the importance of emotional clarity. You respond instead of react. You breathe before you speak. You observe before you decide. And that shift, that calmness, is magnetic in a way few people ever talk about. People can sense it when you walk into a room. They feel the stability in your presence. You don't come with chaos, desperation, or unpredictability. You carry a grounded energy, steady, intentional, controlled. And the reason it's so attractive is because in a world where everyone is triggered, reactive, and easily pulled into drama, you become the rare man who cannot be moved by noise. Women especially pick up on this instantly. They feel safer around a man whose emotions don't swing like a pendulum. Safety isn't just physical, it's emotional. And emotional safety is something only a mature man can offer with authenticity. Your calm also communicates strength. Not the loud, aggressive kind that tries to dominate, but the quiet strength that comes from deep self-mastery. You don't need to raise your voice to prove a point. You don't need to win every argument to protect your pride. You don't need to escalate small conflicts into emotional battles. That restraint shows a level of masculinity that is refined, powerful, and deeply respected. People trust a man who is not controlled by his emotions. And what's even more powerful is that your calmness creates clarity for others. When people are around you, they find themselves thinking more clearly, feeling more grounded, and becoming more intentional. Your emotional stability becomes contagious. It elevates the environment around you without you trying to do anything. That's influence. That's presence. That's experience transformed into emotional authority. If younger men chase highs and crash with lows, an attractive older man lives in balance. He knows the value of composure. He understands the power of a thoughtful pause. He is guided by principle, not impulse. Carry that calm with pride, because it's not just a sign of maturity, it's a sign of mastery. And the man who masters himself becomes the man no one can easily forget. There's a certain depth in an older man's eyes that can't be faked, replicated, or borrowed. It's the depth that comes from living long enough to see patterns in people, truths beneath words, and intentions behind actions. When you reach that stage, you don't need to announce your intelligence or your awareness. You simply see more than you say, and this is one of the most quietly attractive qualities you possess. Because in a world full of noise, your ability to observe without reacting becomes a rare form of power. You've spent years watching how people behave, noticing the inconsistencies between what they say and what they do, understanding how emotions move beneath the surface. You've seen enough to know that people reveal themselves more through their habits than their speeches. And because of that, you've developed a calm clarity. You don't rush to judge, but you don't overlook patterns either. This makes you grounded, measured, and difficult to manipulate. Women feel an instinctive trust in a man who can read emotional shifts, understand subtleties, and remain composed when others miss the details. You speak less because you've learned the value of listening. You've seen how much information lives in silence, in pauses, in gestures. Younger men often jump into conversations to prove they know something. Older, attractive men wait because they actually do. Your attention becomes more powerful than your words, and that attentiveness makes people feel seen, not in a superficial way, but in a way that reaches beneath the surface. The truth is, people crave being understood, and you offer that understanding without forcing it. And what makes this depth even more attractive is your restraint. You don't expose everything you notice. You don't call out every flaw you see. You choose your responses with intention. That restraint creates mystery, and mystery creates attraction. People sense that you understand more than you reveal, and that awareness draws them toward you. It makes them curious. It makes them respect you. It makes them think twice before playing games or trying to deceive you, because they know you're not the kind of man who gets fooled easily. This ability to read beyond the surface isn't about being suspicious, it's about being awake. Life has taught you to pay attention. You've learned that intuition sharpened by experience is one of the strongest instincts a man can develop. So hold on to that depth, because it's one of the clearest signs of your growth. And remember this, when you see more than you speak, you move through the world with an advantage that people can feel long before they ever understand it. There's a kind of power that only comes when a man finally stops fighting his age and starts embracing it. And this is one of the clearest, strongest signs you're becoming an attractive older man. You no longer see age as something to hide or deny. You see it as something that has shaped you, strengthened you, and refined you in ways youth never could. The world may chase youth like it's the peak of existence, but you've lived long enough to know that youth is just the beginning, not the definition of a man's value. What makes you stand out is that you no longer feel the need to compete with younger men. You don't try to dress like them, talk like them, move like them, or mimic their confidence. Your confidence comes from a deeper place. It comes from knowing you've survived things they haven't even experienced yet. It comes from understanding what truly matters and what no longer deserves your energy. And that level of authenticity is rare. It makes you more grounded, more deliberate, and more magnetic than any superficial attempt to appear younger. Your scars, emotional or physical, don't make you less attractive. They make you real. They tell a story of a man who has lived, learned, and risen from things that could have broken him. Younger men may have energy, but you have wisdom. Younger men may have potential, but you have clarity. Younger men may be trying to find themselves, but you already know exactly who you are. And that self-awareness radiates in everything you do. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you make decisions. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with embracing your age. You don't panic about time. You respect it. You don't cling to the past. You use it. And most importantly, you don't fear getting older. You understand that every year adds depth, character, and refinement to who you are. Women sense this instantly. A man who is at peace with his age becomes irresistible because he represents stability, maturity, and emotional sophistication in a world full of men desperately trying to look younger while losing themselves in the process. And as you grow older, you become more intentional. You protect your energy. You choose wisely. You stop allowing nonsense into your life. This selective nature doesn't make you difficult. It makes you valuable. It shows people that your time is earned, not given freely. So remember this. Aging isn't something that diminishes you. It's something that completes you. The man who embraces his age becomes the man who finally understands his own worth.